You've got tight traps, headaches, and endless neck tension that stretching just doesn't seem to help with. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to fix this once and for all, and with a few simple techniques that actually work. But first, let's talk about why your traps are tight in the first place. It usually boils down to two major reasons. Root cause number one is sitting for long periods of time, especially under stress. Sitting at a desk or even standing locks your body into a forward-leaning posture. Your shoulders start to shrug, your head drops forward, and your upper traps are left holding all the tension. Over time, this can cause pain and tightness that gives us more and more trouble. Root cause number two is shoulder mobility restrictions, specifically in flexion, reaching your arms overhead, or extension, reaching your arms behind you. When you can't move your shoulders through their full range of motion, your traps tend to jump in and compensate. For example, if you can't lift your arm overhead without restriction, you might shrug your shoulder instead of actually using the glenohumeral joint. The good news is, by improving your mobility and reinforcing it with strength work, you can eliminate this pattern for good. So now that we know what these root causes are, let's set up a plan to relieve these tight traps in 3 simple steps. We'll start with step number 1, which is the quick fixes that give you symptom relief. These are perfect for when you're stuck at your desk or dealing with a pain or tension flare-up. Next, we'll focus on expanding your rib cage and improving your shoulder mobility to keep the tightness from coming back. Finally, we'll strengthen key muscles to lock in those mobility gains and set you up for long-term success. Step number 1, trap pain and tension is hitting you hard. What do we do about it? Let's start with some quick relief. To start, you'll need a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball and some sort of a movable object like a squat rack or a doorway. You're then going to take this ball and place it at the upper trap. You'll then simply lean into the doorway. So as you can see here, I put the ball between my trap and the doorway or the squat rack, and then I'm simply going to apply gentle pressure through this area. I'll hold this for 30 to 60 seconds. I can then even add some movement and side bend my head or drop my chin, extend my head, and just see whatever feels nice. And then I will complete this for 2 to 3 rounds on each side. The next technique we'll use is a stretch for the upper trap area that you can do simply seated in a chair. So you'll take one hand and reach it across the body. And then from here, you want to really kind of choke up on the chair to pull and depress the shoulder. Notice how my shoulder is now facing toward the camera here out in front. And then I want to simply sit up nice and tall. That will create a nice stretch through here. And then lean over to create even more of a stretch. Now from this position, all I'm going to do is take 5 big deep breaths, keeping my head straight forward. Exhale, everything out, stay nice and tall, and then breathe back in. And each time I take that breath, I'm going to feel even more of a stretch, almost as though I'm pulling the muscle apart and then kicking it from the inside out. To see this on the other side, again, I will grab, rotate, kind of lean into the shoulder, sit up nice and tall, create that stretch, head straight forward, take 5 deep breaths. Feel on the inhale this nice big stretch, exhale, and you'll complete this for 2 to 3 rounds on each side. It's important to note that these quick fixes for symptom relief do not treat the root cause, but rather just more superficial tension and potential pain that could be occurring. That's why it's so important that in step 2, we gain true mobility to improve that shoulder flexion and extension. Now for step 2, we're going to create mobility at the shoulders by creating expansion through the rib cage. When we sit or stand for long periods of time, all of this tends to come forward, creating some rounded shoulders and forward head, which then puts the upper trap in a better position for leverage. Because of this, we can then lose some of the extension or flexion abilities that we would normally possess just due to muscle tension around the rib cage constricting everything. So putting the shoulders, the pecs, and the back muscles in positions of stretch and then breathing in those positions can really improve our mobility at the glenohumeral joint, which then will reduce the amount of compensation that the trap will try to jump in on. So for step 2, we're going to use a deep squat, low reach breathing. For this, you're going to want another immovable object. I found that reaching underneath your couch or your bed can work very well. But here I'm going to be using the band post on my squat rack. I'll find this position, get into a deep squat, and then we're going to grab with my hands on the outsides of my knees, the post, and then just maintain this position. I'm then going to think about sinking back in between the shoulders, but without my shoulders riding up toward my neck. So I keep my shoulders low, put my weight into my heels, my knees are against the chest, and I take 5 big deep breaths. Pause, and then a slow silent inhale. And think about breathing into my rib cage 360 degrees, but without that breath going into my stomach. I exhale, pause, slow silent inhale, and just essentially feel that breath go everywhere but the stomach. I'll then complete this for a total of 5 breaths, and I'll give you a couple of small modifications to potentially make this easier on you. One of those being adding some type of wedge or heel elevation so that way you can get into the deep squat. So you'll simply place these down, get into that deep squat. Books work very well. It doesn't have to be these specialized little squat wedges. Get them positioned so that way you can still grab a hold of whatever it is you're holding onto and then lean back into the position. Again, I will complete 5 breaths, pause, then a slow silent inhale. And then from a front view, just so that way you know what we're trying to make this look like. I'll be in a squat position. My arms are on the outside of the knees, and I would be holding onto that object, taking a couple breaths, feeling this all stretch out. Now that we have gained some mobility, we want to solidify these mobility gains by creating strength in the surrounding musculature. One muscle I find to be the most important for keeping the traps from over contracting and being tense is our serratus anterior muscle located just below the armpit. I'll be giving you 2 exercises to utilize. One is a bit more of a beginner move, while the second one is great for warming up in the gym and more for those that are a bit more advanced and stronger. For our beginner exercise, we'll be in a quadruped position. Bring your bottom toward your heels. Place the elbows down on the floor directly in front of your knees. While maintaining this position, you're going to push yourself away from the floor in order to activate that serratus muscle. Once you're here, you want to maintain this while you'll take one side at a time. So I'm going to work my left side here, turn the palm up, and then I want to reach up, and I'm going to feel this muscle really start to kick in, and then I bring it back down, letting it slightly relax. I'll then again reach, keeping that palm up, my thumb turned out toward the floor, go as far as I can, and then come back down. Notice as I'm doing this exercise, there is no shrugging that is able to happen. I have to keep that serratus on, which is essentially just inhibiting this upper trap, which I feel is jelly and soft. Come back down, and then I'm going to do a couple on the other side. Now I'll show this from a superior view. Again, I want to push away the floor. I then flip my palms up, maintain this position as I then reach and come back down. This is not a huge movement at all, and you may need to be careful because that serratus muscle will sometimes want to cramp up on you as you do this movement. I'll then complete this for a total of 10 to 15 reps on each side for 2 to 3 rounds. Now for my more advanced or stronger folks, what you'll want to utilize is something called a dolphin pike push-up. Going to set yourself up in a plank position, just like so. And then we want to create those same type of positions that we did in the rock back. So we want to push the floor away, get that scapular protraction. I'm going to then maintain this as I then push myself back, like I'm trying to get my heels to the floor. I feel a little bit of a calf stretch. I feel more serratus activation. And then I push my bottom up into the air, and I'll really start to feel those serratus muscles working. That's 1. I come back down. Do not let yourself fall down into this retracted position. Again, maintain the position, protracted, push back first, heels to the floor, and then your butt comes up and you'll feel that serratus really kick in. I'll then complete that movement for a total of 5 to 15 reps, just depending on your strength level, for a total of 2 to 3 rounds. So now you have a 3-step plan to attack whenever there is some type of upper trapezius tension that is bothering you with your standing at your desk or sitting at your desk or whatever it is that is happening in your life. Just know that for you to get rid of this tension, you're going to have some kind of mobility and strengthening happening. So I highly recommend that if you're not on some kind of a workout plan, that you get on one ASAP. So I hope this video helps you out. I hope you learned a couple things, and remember to like the video, give us a subscribe here at the WaughFit channel, and I will see you all in the next one.